Guys, I really don't have an elaborate intro this week. It's the weekend. You guys already know what it means. It is a Saturday. That means it is time for the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast to bless your ears in terms of audio. And if you actually watch us on video, let us know. Leave a comment on Facebook or YouTube. We greatly appreciate it. But it is the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast here on a weekly basis to give you fun, give you football, and to spread all the chaos imaginable. We need to get a little bit better, I think, in the chaos department. We need to up our chaos by the end of the month here, Justin. So but I think we'll be able to handle that. We're actually kind of handling that at the start here.
I was going to say, we're starting with pretty abundant chaos.
Yeah, we're starting with chaos on our end, ladies and gentlemen. Rick is here. Rick will join us. Obviously, because Sandoval is here. You know that means Rick is here, unless me or Justin somehow found a way to get Sandoval, which maybe. But Rick will join us here momentarily. He had a little bit of it was audio. Now it's Wi-Fi. He's got a bunch of issues happening, aka things me and Justin have also had to deal with him as well. So it's the bane of our existence on this show. It's not it's not viewers. It's not the NFL. It's technology. Makes sense. It's only right. As always, joining you in this affair, Iceman Jared kicking things off. Joining me today, of course, Rick will come on eventually, but of course, the Master of Games. I think that's your new nickname, Justin. Master of Games. My man, Justin Zucker. How we doing, brother?
I'm just happy that I made it out of that Thursday night game.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? We will talk about that Thursday night game, as you guys have seen from the past couple weeks of the show. The way we kind of handle things here, we have our fun at the beginning. I say the motto for a reason, because that motto goes in order. We have our fun, guys. We talk our football, and then comes the chaos in terms of the picks and Rick's rants at the end. It's the perfect order, really. Actually, hindsight 2020, didn't even think of that when it came to the slogan and stuff. So there we go. Things work out. But Justin, I mean, we mentioned chaos off the start. I think we got some chaos here. Live, joining us now from a backyard, I think. Podfather Rick. Rick, it's gotten to this point, huh?
Let me explain. Let me explain. So, I go to San Francisco this week for work, right? And I have a spiritual epiphany of sorts. Then, I feel good about myself. I feel okay. I'm doing fine. No big deal. I come back and I'm thinking, okay, great. Yeah, I got the podcast going. I'm excited. How did I do last week? Oh, wait. I lost all 4 games last week. And wait, even better. The Wi-Fi has decided not to work once again for everything. So I currently am outside on my cell phone hotspot doing this. And surprisingly, right now, the coverage is great. But you know what? This ain't going to last, because in about a month, I'll have to go back inside and do it, because it'll be too damn cold to do anything. The point that I'm trying to make about the first part is that, yeah, I went 0-4 last week, so here we go.
Remember Rick's personal creed, ladies and gentlemen. Duncan sucks. And this was his own self-inflicted punishment. He had to order this from Duncan. So, Rick, please recap the order for the people first, and then take the sips.
The order, very simply, because it's the fall and because I'm basic, it is a large pumpkin cream cold brew with sweet pumpkin cold foam. Now, I bought this about an hour ago because I wasn't sure how long it was going to take to get on the show. And so the foam has kind of dissipated a little bit into the cold brew. So it could be even worse. It could be even better. Oh, good. The sun's out. I'm going to get sunburned. That's great. Whatever. That's perfect. Yeah, here we go. Oh, it's awful. Oh, my God. Terrible. Oh my God. Oh.
I think we should have Rick finish that by the end of the show.
Right? He's got to keep on taking sips throughout.
Oh, come
That's
on.
his kick punishment. Sandoval was the game, so he kicked him out of the house. It's just...
Please. Oh, no. Why?
Wait. Should that be a thing? Whenever Sandoval does better than Rick, Sandoval is the only one inside for the show.
Oh, my God. Oh. And the sun is out too, so I'm all blocked out by this. I have to flip around and do something now.
Do you want to run and get a hat real quick? So yeah, I mean, we don't want to kill you here, dude.
Nah, I don't want to do that. But I'm gonna flip the camera around, so I'm gonna walk around. So I'm gonna stay on, but I'm gonna mute myself and take the camera for about 10 seconds while I go the other side of the table that I'm on. So I'll be able to hear you guys talk about, hopefully not this Denver-Indianapolis game, because that was a awful nature of a game. So, but we'll figure something else out.
That will be talked about later on in the show, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, per the structure, we will be talking about Thursday night football game that just passed just before we get to our picks of the week. As Rick kind of said right there, he had a rough week to say the least. We had literally the highest of highs and the lowest of lows for the picks last week. Excuse me. We had the highest of highs and lowest of lows. Rick went winless the first. I think is it the first win this week, or has Sandoval gone winless? He's a deer.
I think he went Sandoval. I think we went winless one week also.
Mm-hmm. So Rick with the first winless week between just the three of us. Second, if you count Sandoval.
We don't.
Justin will never. So there was that. I had a perfect week, actually. I didn't expect that with my games. I thought one would screw me over, but I had a perfect week. So there it went. And Justin, I actually don't remember. Like, I legitimately don't remember you guys' picks during the week. I barely remember mine, which is why I had to write them down. So how did you do? Did you get 2?
I got 3, I think.
There we go.
Yeah, a good week.
Yeah, that's a really good week. So we had the highest of highs and lowest of lows, and people are probably already figure it out in your mind. We do have a new first overall pick this week for the pick challenge, guys. Somebody new is picking first.
Kick me while I'm down. Fine.
I mean, I was gonna wait to reveal that, but okay, let the people know now. Rick, kill all the suspense.
Well, you had a perfect week, and they knew it wasn't me. There's only 3 of us.
I mean, the people don't remember how many points you had beforehand. So
but again, you had a perfect week. You didn't lose ground. We already said Rick did not get a game, and I was first pick last week.
Justin, shush.
To be fair, as well, the both of you ended up with more than 2 wins, which is the first for the week. So congratulations to the both of you on that end. That's a big step up. Justin had a huge week. Jurg, I hate you. And I found out that this table has a sun umbrella now, which
there we go.
All the things that you needed to know you could have taken by just looking at the table and seeing there was a sun umbrella. But in my rush to not only start the show or drink my damn pumpkin coffee, which is horrific. Oh my God.
Not the only thing recently that Rick had to drink. Of course, we've made a topic. Some of Rick's rants, ladies and gentlemen, have ended up him critiquing certain establishments that try to be creative with their drinks. So let me present to all of you and to our full viewing pleasure for the first time, the second ever episode of First Sipspressions.
To the Holiday Inn Express in Aberdeen, Maryland. It is time for another rousing rendition of First Sipspressions. It is 10:30 in the evening, which is a better time to drink some soda, but I wanted to go a little different. I wanted to do something a little more regional this time around, as you can see by my Ravens purple polo, even though I didn't pick them. And we'll see if that was a great decision or not. If it was, yay. If not, aw. But whatever. This is Rofo Pop. It is a Royal Farms brand, which is basically their 7-Eleven, their regional 7-Eleven version here in Maryland. And this flavor is called Blue Raspberry right here. So we're going to give this a crack. We're going to see what happens. I'll tell you how it tastes. Well, the first thing you notice with this is that it's basically just sugar water with an added flavor. Not a lot of pop to it, not a lot of the carbonation, not a lot of the caffeination, not a lot of the zing from the Coca-Cola, actually. As a soft drink goes, it's pretty decent. It's 24 fluid ounces in this bottle, which is about 350 calories for the whole thing. 2 servings for the whole thing. They have a pineapple flavor, but I'm a little tempted not to go for the pineapple one. Maybe I'll do pineapple Fanta next time. We'll see how that goes. But all in all, Rofo Pop for the Maryland region right here, not terrible, I will say. Not something to go out of the way for again, but not bad. So there you go.
So there was that.
This is a weird football podcast.
Oh wait, we're supposed to do football?
Well, that was the week that I was in Baltimore and I picked Miami to beat them. So that was an adventure and a half. We're trying to. Well, Justin, like you said, it's football based, sure, but we're trying to incorporate different things because we're hungry for sponsorship, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey,
it's
you have to give something a positive review, then, Rick, not just okay.
In the most recent one that Jurg didn't show you, I do give a positive review, and I'm quite surprised by it. So, teaser,
which we will show by the end of this episode. So, you get a 2 for, ladies and gentlemen. You get the next episode of First Sipspressions.
I'm not giving a positive review to this damn thing, though. God,
yeah,
the extra large.
Right.
Because I thought if I'm going to torture myself, why not go the whole way? Why
you're a
not
true Jets
go
fan.
all out?
You're a true Jets fan.
Yeah, true
Exactly.
masochist.
Yeah.
I
Rick,
have a deer who's wearing a top hat right now. What do you think this is going on?
in better living conditions and recording conditions than right now. Oh god. Are you good? Before we finally move on, are you good with your short sleeves out there, by the way? Is the weather still good out there?
I mean, it's 60 degrees, 65 degrees, so it's not terrible.
Right.
I mean, I was in San Francisco last week. It was like 55 in the morning or 40 in the morning. That would have been worse, but this is actually not that bad. There's no wind yet. There's no bug infestation yet. So it's not bad, I suppose.
That's the most important thing. As long as we're not killing you here. I mean, we'll killing you on the inside, not the outside. As long as we're killing you on the not killing you on the outside.
He's doing a good enough job on that by himself, Jerk.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. We're already in the fun. Let's continue with the fun. We have another amazing round of Justin's trivia. Of course, as I introduced him as the game master of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast. We got some trivia. We got some Would You Rather after this. And we actually have a new game we're going to quickly debut on this episode that I'm sure is going to become a staple this week as Rick tries to not spasm from continuing those sips of Dunkin'. So, Justin, please take it away. What is this week's trivia question?
All right. As of the end of week 4, 3 teams have both scored and allowed over 100 points. Name them.
My NFC North champion Detroit Lions, because I saw somewhere that they're the highest scoring offense and the highest allowed scoring defense in the NFL right now.
Correct. Detroit has scored 140 points and they have allowed a 141. That was the easy one, though. I figured you guys would get that one.
Pretty bad.
I'm trying to think of the other because the key is it's great offense but terrible defense. So who's had some great offensive outbursts but some bad defense? Rick, I'm gonna throw this to you. Detroit's opponent in that game, Seattle, because Seattle's dropped a lot in that game. They let Detroit score a bit. I know the Denver game and the San Fran game weren't much, but the Falcons game, they scored a bit, Rick. Like that Seahawks-Falcons game finished, 27-23 or something along those lines? So you have
it was pretty close. That's not a bad guess because their defensive woes are just terrible. I'm hoping it's wrong, not because I don't want us to have a wrong guess, but I don't want Geno Smith to have over 100 points scored on offense right now. God have mercy on my soul if that is. This will get chucked across the yard if that happens.
You know that's not true. You're not going to do that. You're going to finish it.
I can't. Yeah, I have to finish it. But metaphorically, I wish to chuck it across the yard.
We're not making you finish it. That's all on you. If you don't want to finish it, you don't have to.
No, listen. Again, if I'm going to do this, you get the large and you finish the whole thing. And we'll go from there. So, but the Seahawks aren't a bad guess.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with Seattle because we have 2 guesses each, and I'd like to carry this along. So Seattle will be my guess.
All right. Seattle has 115 points allowed on defense and 95 points on offense. No, Seattle is not one of those teams.
So close.
Close.
So close. It's that San Fran game that screwed them because then they only scored like 7 points against them.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's funny you mentioned Atlanta, though, Jerg, because I feel like they might be another viable option. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if they've had like the outbursts, but they've had games that were higher scoring that were close.
So the Falcons game, Jesus Christ, the Saints and the Seahawks games, they both allowed over 20 and they scored over 20. So you're about like 40-something, 50-something already just in those 2 games.
Wasn't the Rams game too kind of similar?
They did almost come back in that game. Remember, it was like the final score was like 31-28 or something. So
and then last week with the Browns, that game it wasn't high scoring, but it was enough. So
I think Rick, I think that's it. I think you got it.
Yeah, let's go with the Falcons.
All right, the Falcons have scored 103 points this year. But their points against are 101. They are currently +2.
Wow.
And they are one of the 3 teams to score and give up over 100 points this year.
All right.
Season so far.
That's 2 for me, so I'm out. So, Jerk, it's all on you, unless,
Well, Sandoval's here.
Yeah.
We still have his 2 guesses.
Top hat.
Top hat Sandoval, by the way.
Yeah.
Like I said last week, Sandoval will be in costume for the rest of the month, ladies and gentlemen.
I wanted to call him Boy George because, Culture Club, Karma Chameleon with the top hat on, but yeah. I don't know, Jerk. This is tough because
Right.
there were teams that I know have scored over 100 points, but I'll give you Kansas City.
They definitely didn't allow 100 yet.
No, but they definitely scored over 100, but they haven't given up over 100 for sure. But their defense hasn't been as good this year as in years past.
Well, hold on. Wait, I think the Rams. Think about it. Buffalo outscored them in week 1 by a lot. They had the high scoring game against the Falcons. The Niners just dropped 20 on them. I'm forgetting what their third game was, but
Yep, right. But have they scored enough points?
right.
They only scored 10 in that game against the Bills.
They scored 10 there. They scored 30
Yep.
something against. Who was their third game against? I forget. Was it against Seattle? Did they already face them?
No, it was Atlanta, and well, they had the stinker against San Fran, which we're going to talk about, unfortunately.
Right.
So I don't think it's them.
Right.
What about Miami?
Them and Baltimore had a high scoring game. Them and Buffalo had a decent game. They torched New England, so that would help them offensively. And then they had this close game against Cincy. It's not a bad one. Yeah, I think Miami is the closest we might get right now. So I'll go with the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins have not scored or allowed over 100 points.
Wow.
They are 98 points for
Oh, come on.
and 91 points against.
It's not bad, though.
That is the story of my life. Both of my guesses are within like a field goal and a touchdown away.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
Close,
a good
but no
metaphor.
cigar there. Yeah.
You guys were close.
Hey,
is
Sandoval still has 2 more
cheating,
guesses.
or
Sandoval, Rick, let's get this. What are Sandoval's 2 guesses? By the way, last week, ladies and gentlemen, remember Justin beat Sandoval for the first time. Yeah, Sandoval always gets the same amount of guesses as us.
Well, keep in mind too that there's a lot of interference running around right now, from terrible Wi-Fi to a brick and mortar house that I'm not in at the moment because I've been banished from being terrible.
so you're saying Sandoval can't cheat as well?
No, I'm saying that there's the messages are a little fuzzier. Okay. He said drink the pumpkin again. Fine, whatever. Oh, quoth. Oh God.
I think we lost him.
Of course.
I think
He said
okay.
cuts out again. As it cuts out again. There we go. We're back. This is why you can't do things on a cell phone hotspot. He's saying quoth a lot. Quoth. I'm trying to remember. I think it's Edgar Allan Poe. So I feel like he's saying quoth the raven nevermore. So we were close with Miami, but maybe it's Baltimore. The other guess he was going to give us Las Vegas, but I think Vegas, for being as bad of a defense, I don't know how good they've been on offense, but I will register Sandoval's guess as Baltimore.
Well, Vegas was close. Vegas actually, they have given up 100 points exactly, but they only scored 96 points on offense.
Of course.
And
yeah,
Jared, you were also close with your Chiefs shout. They scored 129 points. They've given up 96.
Really? It does not feel like they've
Yeah.
given up that much.
Yes. But to answer Sandoval's cheating question, yes, the Ravens are the third team at 119 points scored, 100 points given up.
So Sandoval bounces back, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
He helps us finish up the trivia.
And also, by the way, the Rams, they've given up 94, only scored 70 points this year.
What?
Mm-hmm. They are way low on the list.
Okay.
The Detroit Lions have doubled the Los Angeles Rams in points.
Who would have thought? Maybe the NFC North champions in Rick's mind still have a shot.
Which that would mean that the Rams probably have one of the worst scoring offenses in the league right now, right?
They have to be to the bottom.
Let's see the official ranking. Excuse me. The Rams are currently third, last, but two teams played already this week, technically. So technically, technically they would be the fourth lowest because one of the teams that played already is still in the bottom three, in the bottom two.
Those schmucks that played on Thursday Night Football, one of them can barely surpass the Rams with an extra game. Need we say anymore?
Yeah, but I have a feeling it's not the one we're
still
thinking
1 point
of.
behind. What?
I have a feeling it's not the one we're thinking of.
No, it's the Colts.
Yeah.
It's the Colts. Yeah.
Colts.
Wait. So you're telling me the Broncos have less points than the Rams?
No, they have more
The
points.
Broncos have 5 more points than the Rams. Technically,
okay.
when I'm assuming the Rams will score more than 5 points this week.
Are you kidding me?
Even even the Chicago Bears should pass them with a 9-point deficit right now. I'm sorry, an 11-point deficit right now.
God, Justin Fields has been terrible.
God.
It's been bad. Oh, I have a fun Justin Fields stat we'll get to probably later in the episode that I found this week. I'll tell that in a bit. So moving on from the trivia, the next game for the Game Master is the NFL Would You Rather. We're going to go a little bit more rapid fire than we usually do. Me and Rick, I mean, we haven't agreed to this, so I'm just saying it right now. We'll give like a 30 to 45-second timer on me and Rick's selections as to why we're going the way we're going. So that's what it is. So Justin, begin the affairs.
All right. Who do you blame more for that disappointing start in Baltimore? Is it John Harbaugh or the defense?
I'll take this one real quick.
If
you're talking the start overall,
2-2.
Yeah, well,
big collapses.
It's weird to say. The funny thing is that we're talking about the overall record to this point, and if you're going with that, you technically would side with the defense on that end. Especially with the collapse against the Miami Dolphins. I think that one totally goes on the defense. You got to make another stop no matter how crippled you are with all the work that the Ravens did. Yes, I know towards the end they settled on a field goal, but they did plenty for you in that game. This past game, however, it's 100% on John Harbaugh. Like, the defense, even at the end, they still let up 20-something points. You need to do better if you're Baltimore in that. So to put it together, it's difficult. I will slightly say the defense. It's very slightly say the defense. But if we're talking about last week, which we'll get to momentarily, it's John Harbaugh. But for 2-2 overall, barely defense.
I'm going to go with option C, and I'm going to say it's both Sashi Brown and Ozzie Newsom's fault, the president and the assistant vice president of this team, because, yeah, you know what? You had injuries last year with pretty much the same crew. You have injuries again this year with the same crew. Get a new crew. Get new guys in here that are, that are not going to get hurt or that, can play better without, that injury history. So as much as I want to say that it's John Harbaugh, I mean, I like John Harbaugh a lot. I think he's a really good coach. As much as I want to say it's Mike McDonald, because I never liked him as a rookie defensive coordinator. We talked about that in the AFC North preview. This is on the president and the VP of the team. This is on higher ups for not doing more to attract better talent who have a less injury history or have better backups, because you saw Tyreek Hill torch Jalen Armour-Davis. There's no reason a rookie who was drafted in the 4th round should be covering Tyreek Hill that late in the game. I'm sorry. In one-on-one matchup, no chance at all. This is on Sashi Brown and Ozzie Newsome for me, 100%.
Interesting. It's hard to argue with that. Let's move on. Who do you think is going to score more points this week? Lions at the Pats or the Bills hosting the Steelers?
Scoring more points, you're saying? Okay, because if you were saying allowing more points, that would be a different argument completely. Because that's Kenny Pickett versus Bailey Zappi. Right, yeah. The Lions have a better track record of scoring points. The Bills can kind of get tripped up every now and again if their defense doesn't work. And I think the Steelers' defense is actually pretty good. I like the way that the Steelers' defense, they're the heart and soul of that team. I think they're really strong. The Lions' offense, I don't know if they're going to have all the weapons back. If not, they probably won't score. But listen, they didn't have Amon-Ra St. Brown or DeAndre Swift. They still put up 45 against the Seahawks. This is an offense that is going to absolutely just torch everything. And they might finish with the most points ever scored and not make the playoffs because they just can't stop a nosebleed on defense. But I think they will score a lot of points against New England this week.
I guarantee you that's going to be trivia towards the end of the season by Justin. The team with
next week.
The most amount of points scored by a team that missed the playoffs at the end of the season. That's a good one.
It's the Jets, of course.
Yeah, maybe. It's just because I don't know with Detroit, like with Sun Gods Brown being out, and Swift as well, like they could still be out. I'm going to tentatively say Buffalo, because I think this season, even though they've had a couple of hiccups, I think Buffalo will be able to bounce back and they can score more points on the Steelers defense. Like, see, part of the thing is that the Steelers offense, like, I know Pickett was a little bit of a spark plug. It's still Matt Canada. I think that offense is still going to underperform to the point where the defense is going to get overexposed, and eventually they'll get tired and they'll let up a touchdown or two extra. So I'm going to say the Bills score more against the Steelers.
All right, both solid guesses. Now, if you had to take someone who's going to have more receiving yards this weekend, who would you rather pick? Garrett Wilson at home against the Dolphins or Romeo Doubs in London against the Giants?
Who's the Jets opponent again? My bad.
Miami.
Okay.
Miami.
You go first.
So I'm gonna pick my answer for two reasons. One, Xavier Howard has disappointed me immensely with how he hasn't really been a great player for Miami so far, and after getting that contract. And the second thing is, don't discount this. The Giants just re-signed Landon Collins to help that defense out.
They've had a very good secondary also.
They have had a real even after losing Bradbury, they've had a very good secondary. And I feel like Aaron Rodgers is going to have a lot more versatility this week, but I think in this case, because of the matchup, I like it a little bit better for Garrett Wilson. He's been a stud through his first 4 games, no question about it for me. And I think that Miami's secondary is in a bit of shambles at the moment. I don't really, they can score a lot of points, but they can give up a ton of points too. We saw that in the Baltimore game. I think you're talking about Garrett Wilson doing better this week than Romeo Doubs.
Even though Xavier Howard hasn't necessarily played at his best so far, I still he's still a legit number one caliber corner in this league. And Byron Jones is not a bad second cornerback, by the way, to have there as well to be able to cover Garrett Wilson. I think Romeo Doubs, between him and Christian Watson, I think he's the one that's really shown himself out so far in that Green Bay offense. I'm expecting him to have an important game here for the Packers, so I'm going to go with him. Like the Giants, let's keep it a buck. They're a fraudulent 3-1 team. Like they're 3-1 by circumstance and by chance, and the Packers are most likely going to show them what a real 3-1 team looks like going on to 4-1.
The one thing that I'll say against your pick there, Romeo Doubs has never played in London before. So I don't know if maybe that time difference and that factor might be different, especially for a guy who went to Nevada. So you're talking about mountain time normally to London time. I don't know if that's going to play a factor for him. I hope it's not, but I don't know if it's going to play a factor for him, possibly being a little less than.
Maybe it motivates him. Hey, Rick, the great one's bodies sometimes tell them now is the time to step up. Maybe
my body's saying no more pumpkin, but here I am. I'm going to keep going.
Well, Romeo Doubs is a great one. I mean, you are too, but not with playing football.
Fine. Yeah, no, that's true. Okay. Yeah.
I think is that the last Would You Rather, Justin?
That's the last Would You Rather.
Boom, there it is. So another rousing round. A lot of healthy discourse right there, which is what we love to see on the show. So now to finish off the games, we have the newest game this week: NFL fact or fiction. Justin, take it away with your newest brainchild.
All right, guys. So I'm going to give you a statement. I'll give you some facts about that statement, and you guys give me a quick 1 or 2 sentence answer about whether or not that statement is fact or is it fiction. And the first one is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars are a contender in the NFL this year. Currently 2-2 with wins over the Chargers and the Colts. They're currently 3rd, actually, in their point differential among the league at plus 38. They have the 4th best points against in their defense and 6th best points for. They're in the middle of the bottom of the pack in yards per game, however. Is Jacksonville a contender?
I will say no. I will say that because this team is still very young. I think that they have a little more of a growing curve to get to. And I feel like you say the word contender, and I still think that there's a lot of other teams in the AFC that are, further along than they are. It's a great story through 4 weeks, but I don't see them as a contender yet.
Yeah, I'm going to go with fiction as well. I think the pieces are there for the Jags to build something, and I think eventually going down it could be their time, maybe next season. But I think it's got to be fiction this year, especially that Eagles game to me is the barometer. That's a real team, and they got handled by a real team. I know it was technically close, but a real team showed them how you win those kinds of games. Jacksonville's just not there yet.
All right. Jared Goff is a top 10 quarterback this year. Jared Goff, leading the league in offense, the quarterback for the team that's leading the league in points scored. He's currently 3rd in passing yards, 26th in completion percentage, but tied for 1st in passing touchdowns, 8th in QBR, and 7th in quarterback rating. He's got 1,126 yards on 92 completions, 11 touchdowns, and 3 picks. 10th overall on fantasy points. Is Jared Goff a top 10 quarterback this year?
So I'm trying to count it in my head. So guys who have played really well this season: Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. Like definitively those 4. Jalen Hurts has played really good. We are on this podcast have also admitted that much. So the top 5, I think most people would have some combination of those 5 in there. So you then have to think after who has underperformed this season compared to preseason expectations. Well, I don't know what your expectations were. Carson Wentz obviously not on that list. Matthew Stafford has vehemently underperformed this season. Trevor Lawrence, Tom Brady. I would still maybe put him in the top 10, but maybe 9 or 10. Trevor Lawrence has shown flashes, but would you say he's top 10 right now? Kind of iffy, especially after the Eagles game. Kyler Murray, guy who's kind of underperformed. He's shown flashes, but just
Go ahead, say it. I know what you're going to say. Go ahead and say it.
He's my number 6, but Geno Smith has played incredible this season, boys. I don't know about you, but Geno Smith has
jerk.
been that too. I'm still putting Justin Herbert in that list. The dude's playing with cracked ribs, and he's still 3rd in passing yards right now. And the only reason he's 3rd is the 2 schmucks on top of him already played this week. So I don't know. I mean, you can make the argument as of now, but I see. This is my problem. This is why I hate the Tennessee Titans. And Ryan Tannehill, because I don't like putting a guy in the top 10 conversation if it's only going to last for like a week or 2. Like, I need you to be a real top 10 quarterback. So, top 10 this season, I'm still saying fiction there. I can't put him in the top 10 this season. I just can't.
I'm going to go fact because I feel like if it wasn't for the Miami Dolphins bungling everything, I think Jared Goff would be number 11 and Tua would be number 10. But I think because Tua is out now for a considerable amount of time, as he should be, I would put Goff in the top 10. And look, like we said in the NFC North preview, if you look at Jared Goff's stats, I don't mind the record. Look at his stats. That's a pretty decent touchdown to interception ratio for a number 1 overall pick. He's just been saddled with bad luck so far, I think. The Rams, at the time they went to the Super Bowl, were a good team, but, now they're a better team. The Lions, they have a good offense. They just don't have a good defense at the moment. He's not a bad quarterback. He's not Jamarcus Russell or Achilles Smith or Ray Lucas, but, he's a decent quarterback. I'd put him at the end of the top 10, though. I wouldn't put him top 5. He's at the end of the top 10, and I feel like he could move out with a bad performance this week. Somebody else could move into the top 10. Maybe Bailey Zappi. Who the hell knows?
I'll give Jared Goff this. I will take him right now over Russell Wilson and Ryan Tannehill any day of the week. I'll give him that.
I'll take really him over, saying much.
I'll take him over Matt Ryan right now, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just say also, if they do, I know it's early, if they do hold on to this top scoring offense, it would be the second time Jared Goff led a league-leading offense in the regular season. The next question.
Sean McVay was there for the first one. That's worth knowing.
They're scoring 35 points again without Sean McVay, so let's just say that. And the Rams aren't.
Yeah.
The next one, Brian Daboll will lead the Giants to a wild card game this season. The Giants currently 3-1, lead the league in rush yards per game at 192.5, and they have 770 yards total. 10th best in points allowed with 71 points allowed, and they have the 8th lowest passing yards allowed per game. The Giants are going to a wild card. Rick, what do you think?
I'm going to say fact. It's not so much Brian Daboll. I mean, he's a gambler. He's doing a really good job on the offense, but you talked about that defense. Wink Martindale has still got it in his prime. He can still dial up incredible schemes, and I think, especially now that they have Landon Collins back, they're going to be even more dangerous in the secondary. Do I think it's sustainable that they're going to be, let's say, a 10-win team? I don't think so. But if you look at the rest of the NFC right now, it's a pretty shamble conference at the moment. I mean, you're talking about, at that point then, maybe 2 teams from the NFC East making it as wild cards, with one team being the champion of the division. It's a stretch because obviously Dallas has the tiebreaker over them, and they play Philadelphia twice towards the end of the season. So we'll see if Jalen Hurts keeps us going. But I could see it. I mean, no other team that I'm looking at right now is inspiring confidence in me to say they can absolutely either get out of their doldrum slump or keep up their stretch going. I think you're looking at them, maybe Minnesota and Arizona as possible, but I'll ride with them. I'll say it's a fact.
I'm only going to go with fiction because I try to stay towards my preseason picks and thought process throughout the first quarter of the season. Unless the team is 0-4 at this point, then yeah, sure, I'll count them out. But I still like the way I see it. Packers, Bucks are still likely winning their divisions. Right now, Eagles and Cowboys. Cooper on that good cush rush is doing his thing. So that's 4 teams right there. And in the NFC West, I mean, as much as the amazing future Seattle Seahawks Ring of Honor quarterback Geno Smith is doing, I'm still expecting the Rams, 49ers, and the Cardinals to still have, because I picked them in the preseason, I'm still going to stick with them for now. Check back in a couple weeks. Maybe it's a different one. But for now, I have to say fiction. I got to stick with my preseason guns until I see something that makes me like completely turn the other way.
Well, here's what I'll say, too, about that just quickly. That this next 4-game stretch for them is really the critical one because it's Green Bay, Baltimore, Jacksonville, and Seattle, and then they have the bye. If they can finish before the bye 5-3 or 4-4, I think they're a decent enough team that could make a nice second half run. I mean, especially, they pick somebody else up maybe in like the deadline. But if they're 3-5, they lose all 4 of these games, no chance. But if they can win at least one of the 2 of them, 5-3 before the bye, I think you're looking at a Giants fan base that's going to be pleasantly surprised and thrilled. They will anoint Brian Daboll king of the Meadowlands at that point.
Yeah. He's not got much competition right there. So
receipts.
Right. Last one, guys. Let's see if you contradict yourself at all. The Cowboys' strong defensive start makes them a contender. Currently, they are 2-2. They have the 7th lowest yards allowed per game. Third lowest points allowed per game at 62 points allowed, but they are bottom 5 in points scored at 71. Is their defense strong enough to make up for those offensive woes?
Because Dak Prescott is not done for the year and probably will come back at some point, I will say yes. I mean, look, this is a frightening defense for any team to go up against. And, you go ahead and look at what they have to do in their next coming few weeks. I mean, let's talk about the fact that they might literally scare Matt Stafford out of his socks this week because there's no offense in LA, and Dallas's defense, if they cook up the same schemes they did against Daniel Jones and the Giants with blitzes galore, I think you're looking at a lot of trouble for Matt Stafford. So, and the credo is defense wins championships, right? So, why not keep that the same way? I mean, look at all the great teams that have won titles in the last few years, not in the last few years, but even like going back further, like the Ravens defense when they won in 2000 was a nightmare for teams to face. They had a great offense, but you did not want to face Ray Lewis for many reasons, off the field or on the field. So, the Cowboys defense is legitimate, and I think that it makes them a contender for sure.
I think what makes the Cowboys defense the most interesting one in a while is the fact that they're doing it solely based off of mainly their front 7. I think of some of the great defenses we've seen over the last – I'm not saying like the defensive backfield is bad, but the true strength of this team is the pass rush over the secondary right now. Some of the better defenses we've seen over the last decade or so, it's the Legion of Boom in Seattle. That's the corners and the safeties. It's the no-fly zone of Denver. That's the corners and the safeties. Yeah, there were good pass rushers on that team, but not to – I mean, Von Miller, okay, to be fair, on that Broncos defense. But aside from Von, there was nobody else. On this Dallas defense, you have DeMarcus Lawrence, who has had double-digit sack seasons before, and you have what could be a multi-time defensive player of the year in his generation in a Micah Parsons. That's really good right there.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, and I don't consider this a contradiction because, again, like I have to see something that I didn't expect going into the season to make me have to switch my takes. The Cowboys defense is one of those things where they're playing above expectations to what I thought they would going into the season. I knew Micah Parsons was good. I didn't think the rest of that defense would be able to match his level. So I'll say fact for now. And when Dak comes back, if they can improve and they could get CeeDee Lamb on that 1,500-yard pace that somebody on the show predicted before the season, then that'll make it even better. So I'll say fact for now on the Cowboys.
All right. Yeah, that's all of them.
Beautiful. Justin, you brought it. Fact or fiction, I think, is going to be a very popular thing. We have a triumvirate of games to play before we get into the football. So now that the fun is done, let's commence with a little bit of the football, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to go as long-winded as last week, mainly because technically somebody got their head knocked into the turf, but that was on the Thursday night game.
I thought you meant after Monday night's picks. That was me, but okay, you're right. That's fair too.
Oh, that as well. We're gonna go relatively quick on some of these games because some of these games they don't really deserve all that much. But this game kind of does. The first game in London for this NFL season was the Minnesota Vikings versus the New Orleans Saints. And I got to say, for a London game, it performed really well. It came down to the very final couple of possessions where they were trading game-winning drives, and that ended up in a double doink for the New Orleans Saints. Poor Will Lutz, he deserved to win that game. The rest of that team, I don't know, but Will Lutz deserved to win that game, to say the very least. Did you get a strong feeling from that game, Rick? Like, did the Vikings prove anything to you, or was that just them winning a game that they were supposed to win in just more dramatic fashion than what we thought?
Well, I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat on here, and I'm gonna say the Saints were hosed because that last drive the Vikings had touchdowns on, there were 3 third-down penalties against the Saints. The first one was legit, the second one was not, and the third one was god-awful. Like, there was hand fighting all over the place between Adam Thielen and the Saints secondary there. In any event, well, are they legitimate? The Vikings? Well, did they deserve to win that game? Sure. I mean, look, Justin Jefferson is still a beast. We knew that for a fact going in. And Kevin O'Connell's got a really good offensive scheme. So that's no question about that for them. I think it's solid. The Saints, they were handcuffed because they didn't have Jameis. They had Andy Dalton. And so I was screaming, come on, Ron Weasley at the TV the whole entire time I was watching the game. But once again, Gingers have no souls. So therefore, he couldn't lead them to a win. Look, yeah, it was tough for Will Lutz because he made one from, 61? And then the 60-yarder, I think he just got a little bit under the ball. But that double doink was just awful. Oh, my God, it was brutal.
Well, it had brutal. The length. It was just that little bit off that made it hit the upright. And
yeah, but even so, that's the difference. The great kickers can hit one off the crossbar and have it spin the other way into the netting. David Akers and Justin Tucker. Will Lutz, the football gods don't think you're a great kicker yet, apparently. So yours hits the crossbar and goes out, unfortunately.
He definitely is a great kicker. He is.
He is.
Right, the football gods in London are different than the ones we have here. I don't think they like anyone.
No, they've eaten too many bad food in their time, so that's probably a problem. What I will say, too, aside from the Will Lutz thing, give Greg Joseph some love for the Vikings. 5 for 5 on field goals in London. He had a great game. This was a great battle of two teams that could be wild card picks. I know, Justin, I think you had the Vikings as a wild card team when you were doing NFC North.
I think I had both.
Yeah, I had the Saints solo as a wild card team, but this was a good game. But this separates, the teams who are wild card contenders from the teams who are just on that fringe. And unfortunately, the Saints are just on that fringe.
That's fair. Any further comments on that, Justin?
No.
Fair enough. And by the way, Cody, I almost said Cody Parkey. Greg Joseph. Joseph for the Minnesota Vikings. 5 for 5. Does Minnesota finally have a kicker who can make clutch field goals?
No, he missed an extra point.
I think did he miss a field goal too?
No, he was 5 for 5 on field goals, but he missed an extra point in the game. So let's pump the brakes on that right now because there's still plenty of time.
Oh yeah,
it's true. They would have forced the Saints to go for a touchdown there. Would have been a completely different game.
Come the playoffs. Let's see what happens. The Cleveland Browns, the Atlanta Falcons played a 23-20 game that was won by the Falcons. Marcus Mariota and Jacoby Brissett combined for 2 interceptions in the air, no passing touchdowns between them. I don't see any reason any more light other than the fact that both teams are 2-2 right now.
Nick Chubb had a great game.
Oh yeah, Nick Chubb's been amazing this season. He's good. Him, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. I mean, 2 of those guys we'll briefly get into here in a couple months. So running backs are doing really good this season.
But my one question with this, we saw it in New England. We saw it in Pittsburgh. Marcus Mariota was 7 for 19. Why wouldn't you go to Desmond Ridder? His time's coming at some point, right? Like, it's got to be.
Especially because Kenny Pickett now got the time to shine, and he's going to be the starter going forward. You got to think.
And Malik Willis. He got in the game. For your favorite team, Jerk, the Titans.
Oh, yeah, my favorite team. Like Bailey Zappi got in. It's TikTok on some of these quarterbacks right now.
Exactly.
The conversation. I mean, maybe just because they won, it might get him some breathing room. But eventually, the conversation is going to happen. When are some of these rookies that got drafted going to get in? Because you kind of need to know, like, also for this upcoming quarterback draft class, if you might go in the way with another rookie again. So
Not if you're Green Bay, because Jordan Love is still riding the bench until he dies.
Oh, of course. Well, no. The Packers are going to get another backup quarterback, right? Like you can never have too many backup quarterbacks when you should probably use them in other picks. But regardless,
I'll start scouring the class.
Yes, indeed. Dallas Cowboys 25-10 victory over the Washington Commanders. Rick, and technically mine, even though I didn't really want to make the pick, NFC East winner is sinking further and further and further. Will Sam Howell
get your guns, Jerg? Don't back out now.
Shut up.
You picked them. You could have picked someone else. You chose to pick them.
I offered you cheese doodles. Look what happened.
Yeah. I regret the cheese doodles.
Yeah, exactly.
The Cowboys won that game. Cooper Rush still undefeated as a quarterback. CeeDee Lamb 97 yards, 1 touchdown. Thank you, CD. Rick, will Sam Howell be starting for this team sooner than we think?
I'm still waiting for Taylor Heineke to come in. Thank you very much. He needs to. But yeah, Sam Howell will probably see time towards the end of the season if this continues for Washington. The defense needs Chase Young to come back ASAP. They need him back. Like that. I thought Deron Payne was going to be better than he is, and he's good, but Batman needs his Robin. Deron Payne needs his Chase Young. It's just that simple.
Makes sense. Only the Cowboys defense only allowed 10 points, kind of going off what Justin spoke about earlier in some of the games. Justin, did this game tell you anything extra about the Cowboys that you didn't already know, or is it just
I think it spoke more about the Washington Commanders. I mean, they have a lot of holes. They're making a lot of mistakes. Carson Wentz has just been god awful. I mean, I can't believe they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, to be honest, at this point. And it was a close game too. It's really a shame that Jacksonville couldn't pull it out. They'd be 3-1 right now. So it's a tough one. They have the weapons too. Carson Wentz is really just not hitting him. It's got to be hard to guard Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, and Terry McLaurin.
Yeah,
I think Jahan Dotson is now out for a couple games, but still, really tough loss.
He did have a touchdown in that game before he got hurt too.
Yeah, and then they have 2 tight ends, John Bates and Logan Thomas. But again, like you said, at some point you've got to pull the trigger and get Wentz out of there and bring in Heineke or Howell to try to inject some life into this offense, because that might be the downfall of Ron Rivera right there. If he sticks to Carson Wentz forever, Matt Rule's sticking around somehow. He's being very pesky like a mosquito. Ron Rivera could be the first one to go.
Yeah, several coaches making the case that they could end up being fired by the end of the season. So that's very much a thing that could happen. Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about offense, and the Commanders need the offense to be electrifying. Maybe they should look at one of these quarterbacks to go after, because in a singular game of the year right now, ladies and gentlemen, 1,075 total yards, 695 passing yards, 12 total touchdowns, and 93 total points. The Seattle Seahawks and the Detroit Lions put on an absolute barn burner of an affair, a 48-45 victory for the Seattle Seahawks. God, what a game it was. Justin, obviously these are two teams that probably to the end of the season are going to miss the playoffs. But, I mean, quite the electrifying game to say the very least. Quite the game to say the least at this point of the season, huh?
Listen, I wouldn't be so sure. It's funny because we were looking at this Jets schedule and we were like, if they can just get to the bye and be okay. And, the back half of their schedule is really, it's not going to be very tough. They could really pull out some games. And meanwhile, they have to play the Vikings, who are not world beaters, but they're playing decent football. The Lions are the top scoring offense in the NFL. The Jacksonville Jaguars are the top team in point differential. The Seahawks have been playing really, really good football. And all of a sudden, this Jets schedule looks very tough. Look, that was a great game. It was. I feel terrible for Detroit, because no matter what they fix, they spring a leak somewhere else. So you ever see those cartoons where they keep trying to cover the leaks, and every time they cover a leak, it springs out from somewhere else? Detroit's really got to stop letting these teams get ahead early and playing from behind, because if they could just jump out to an early lead, it doesn't look like any team is going to catch them in this league. So let's see, maybe they need to get a hotter start.
Right. They've been running track meets this entire season. Detroit's played really well. Rick, your thoughts on this game?
Look, here's what I'll say quickly. The Fences scored 86 points in this game. It was that one pick six, Jared Goff to Tariq Woolen. That one pick six, that in the final score turns the tide. TJ Hawkinson had a phenomenal game. 8 for 179 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he beat me.
That's huge. Well, I'm sorry about that, but look, Amon-Ra St. Brown is questionable this week, so he might get in and play a little bit. DeAndre Swift is out. Chark is out. So Hawkinson's going to still have to be the main target, And look, yeah, it's fine. Seattle. Geno Smith, great, whatever. Talk about Rashad Penny a little bit. I know we were talking about how he might have had a little bit of injury history going in. Guy ran for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, we were saying, Chris Carson, he retired, and Kenneth Walker III, he was going to be the rookie running back. Well, it's still Rashad Penny's show, and he's doing really well in Seattle for them.
Yeah, he's performed well to this point for them. And running backs, like, again, we named some names earlier. Running backs have been the key to some team success this season. Going into this game where the running backs' performances were the key, Jonathan Taylor only had 42 rushing yards. Colts only put up 17 points. Derrick Henry, the king himself, 114 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, carrying the carcass of Ryan Tannehill to a 24-17 victory there. The Colts disappointing me yet again. The Titans sadly taking the division lead at this point. I'm not happy. Anything to say about this one, boys, or is it just a case where this was a low-scoring and kind of boring still AFC South game? Like, it wasn't. I watched some of this game; it wasn't good.
I mean, can Matt Ryan find Michael Pittman on a consistent basis? Like, I get he's the number one target, but the guy only had 4 catches. And Alec Pierce has been okay for the Colts, but they're just not putting it together right now. I don't know what the deal is over there, and it probably might be Matt Ryan getting. Maybe 37 is the new 60 because Matt Ryan's not doing very well. Russell Wilson's having a terrible time. And Tom Brady is like ancient at this point. So I don't know. But otherwise, yeah, you're right. Boring game. The Titans win. Ho-hum. Whatever. Move on.
Yeah, Matt Ryan has looked good in rhythm, but when he's got to drop back and throw that ball, he's been very inconsistent. Another side note to this, the Titans lost Treylon Burks. They officially put him on IR a few minutes ago. So he'll be out for the next 4 or so weeks.
Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, right here on the podcast. Who says we don't break NFL news? Yeah, that's a big one. An already struggling game because Ryan Tannehill, I think he threw for under 150 yards in this one, losing what was supposed to be one of his biggest weapons going into it. Not good. Not good at all when it comes to what the Titans should be. But of course, I think this upcoming week they have a relatively weak opponent. If I'm not, they're facing the Commanders. Oh, there you go. There's your third win of the season right there. Sadly, please Washington, please win that game, please. We're getting towards the end of the 1:00 games. I'm gonna run through these two real quick because they have less significance compared to the last 3 remaining. The Chargers beat the Texans 34-24. A game that some people had questions about. Not this guy, but. Well, neither of you had questions either. I'm just saying. The Chargers handle business. They keep the Texans winless. They get a win that kind of saves the season early for them. If they go into the Browns game with just 1 win, I think it would have been a lot worse for them. But now they have a little bit of momentum. That was an important win for them. The New York Giants beat the Chicago Bears 20-12. Yeah, that was a bad game. My Justin Fields stat, boys, if I can find it here really quick because, oh, dear Lord in heaven, this was the stat. Justin Fields on the season, guys, is 34 of 67 total in terms of completions to passing attempts. The following quarterbacks have thrown more than 34 for more than 34 completions in just 1 game this season. Joe Flacco in week 1 for the Jets, 37 of 59. Tua in week 2, 36 of 50. Josh Allen and Kyler Murray in week 3. Josh Allen completed 42 passes. Kyler Murray completed 37. And Tom Brady went 39 for 52 in week 4. Not good. Not good, Chicago, to say the very least. I don't see a need to comment on these games. The Bears, it's kind of obvious that they, like Matty Eberflus, does not care about making it happen with Justin Fields. And the Texans are the Texans. Those are my comments on those games.
The Giants, I know Daniel Jones is going to start tomorrow for the Packers, but you saw when they didn't have a quarterback at the end of the game, and that's why Saquon Barkley had 31 carries. That's not sustainable. Barkley cannot run the ball 31 times like that for you to be a potent, reliable offense. As good as he is, he's a good running back, but when your offense scheme is too run-heavy or too pass-heavy, it exposes everything else. You got to make it consistent and make it balanced, and that's really how you win. So we'll see and you know what? If Daniel Jones doesn't do it, if he can't stay on the field, then they have Davis Webb, who does know the offense, but it's a Cooper Rush scenario all over again. One of those 2 quarterbacks could win the NFC East, Cooper Rush or Davis Webb.
Did Tyrod Taylor get hurt and I'm just not realizing?
Concussion.
Oh, my God. How did
we all had concussions last week, including Tyrod Taylor.
Well, we definitely had concussions after Thursday night, or at least we wish we were for that game. Justin, any comments about those terrible teams that I just spoke about?
No, did we go over the Eagles-Jags game?
Not yet.
No,
we can get
Okay.
into that.
That
I mean,
it's
let's go
that
into
was a
that.
good game, so he's skipping over the bad ones to get to the good
No,
ones.
I thought he said these were the last of the 1:00 games. And I was like, that was a good game. I hope we don't skip that.
Last of the terrible 1:00 games, Justin.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
So
the adjective is very important there.
Yes. Eagles Jags, like you said, 29-21 victory for the Eagles. The Jaguars hopped out to a 14-0 lead off of an Andre Cisco pick six and a Jamal Agnew touchdown right there. And then the Eagles just took over. That defense forced like 5 or 6 turnovers against the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence fumbled like 4 times. This was kind of what we spoke about earlier. Jaguars, young, talented team. Yes, they're just not at that level yet. This was one of those like watermark games. They just aren't on the Eagles level right now. And that's no disrespect to Jacksonville. It's just, again, the Eagles have proved a lot of people wrong this season, me and Rick included. They're 4-0. The offense has looked good. The defense, amazing in that game. I think I said this last week. If I didn't, let me, I guess, technically iterate it for the first time here. With the way the NFC looks right now, the Eagles might be the 1 seed by the end of the season. And that is becoming a future more and more clear week by week. Justin, you picked them to win at the, in our preseason stuff. The Eagles, I mean, what can you say about this game, Justin, other than what a signature defensive victory for them?
Yeah, look, again, every week that goes by, the moves that this team made during the offseason are coming to fruition. The payoff for what they've done and the moves they've made has been significant. They were a wild card team last year by the skin of their teeth, and they had some serious needs. They needed depth on the offensive line, which they addressed in the draft. They needed a true number 1 receiver, which they addressed by trading a draft pick for AJ Brown, and they needed help in the middle of that defensive line and in the secondary, and they did all of those things. But in the draft, they drafted Jordan Davis out of Georgia, I believe his name is, and they went out. They signed James Bradbury. They traded for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They already had Darius Slay. All of a sudden, this team is looking really, really good. They're beating good teams, and it's hard to say who's going to beat this Philadelphia football team, especially looking at their schedule coming up. I mean, to say that they have a difficult schedule, excuse me, in the next few weeks is really an overstatement by a lot. I think the 2 best teams are the Cowboys and the Cardinals.
Yeah, because after those 2 games, it's the Steelers, it's the Texans, it's the Commanders, it's the Colts. A lot of games that, I mean, really, and if you have doubts about the Cardinals and the Cowboys, the next big test for this team will be Sunday at the end of November against the Green Bay Packers.
Thanksgiving week.
You're talking about there is a realistic opportunity that the Eagles might actually be undefeated by that game, and that will be they're 4-0 right now, so so it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They could be 10-0 come that Packers game.
Let's pump the brakes for a second. I get it. We're excited. Let me just bring this back to a bit of reality here. Jacksonville takes a 14-0 lead. Philadelphia on their next drive goes for it on 4th and 3 from the Jacksonville 40 and misses. The Jaguars, if Trevor Lawrence hadn't fumbled, which he did, if he hadn't fumbled, they were driving again into Philadelphia territory. Now, I understand it's the first quarter, it's early in the game, but that would have been either a 17-0 hole or a 21-0 hole. 2 things about this. Number 1, yes, Jacksonville's a young team. They'll get better. But 2, Nick Sirianni's got a kicker in Jake Elliott who can kick 60-yard field goals. And this is going to be an overarching theme for later on. Take the points.
You couldn't say that those were points in that driving rain. Did you see the storm that was happening during that game? Especially,
of course, I did. But
outside, that was not a gimme by any stretch of the imagination.
So then, on a driving rainstorm, have your mobile quarterback take an option instead of trying to throw a pass on a 4th and 3. I understand the idea of it, but I'm having a little. Nick Sirianni is getting by. And he got by in this game because Jacksonville's young and because his coaching eventually worked out. But you can't take too many of these risks. You're not Ron Rivera. You're not a riverboat gambler. You can't do that.
Look, it wouldn't be a surprise to me that Jalen Hurts comes back down to earth. He's having an MVP season. He's looked incredible running the football. His completion percentage is high. He's not lighting up the world with yards, but he's doing enough to win them football games by a good margin. They are a strong defensive team. They look excellent. And realistically, their stats don't show how good they look because they're blowing teams out to the point where teams are putting up late points, giving up late yards to garbage time. They are a really good football team. They are very difficult to stop in the run game. I think they have, what do they have, like 14 rushing touchdowns this year already in 4 games. They have a very good football team. Sirianni is a very good coach. He may not always make the best decision in those situations. I haven't seen anything that I personally dislike so far, but the Eagles are for real, man. They made the moves. They are the team to beat in that division. They could be one of the top teams in the NFC. Let's not make any mistake. I would not be surprised if they were 10-0 going into that Packers game. I wouldn't be surprised if they were 8-2, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were 10-0.
Yeah. And this is the thing. Like, so here's the thing. Sometimes, like, there will be an undefeated team that just goes on. That was the Cardinals last season. They were undefeated for a bit before the Packers game. The Steelers, remember a couple years
They
ago,
were
were like
11-0 and lost their division.
well, I mean, the Rams were that good last season.
Yeah.
The Steelers a couple years back started the season, 10, 11, and 0. And looking back, hindsight 2020, it really makes you wonder how the hell they went like that far into the season being undefeated. Like, it's not every single season, but sometimes a team is just going to end up going 9, 10, 11, and 0. And you're like, really? Like, the Eagles could be that team this season. They could be due. I'm not countering what you're saying, Rick. I think Nick Sirianni has shown a couple flaws to this point, but they might still be able to, luck and tuck their way into a pretty good record come, November, December. And sometimes that's all you need.
Well, again, Jurg, this one point that I'm going to make before we move on. Remember how when I talked about the AFC West and I mentioned that the Chargers could go 16-1, which they failed me on. Remember I brought up Carolina?
Yeah.
They were 14-0.
Yeah.
They were 14-0 and then lost to Atlanta 20-13 in the Georgia Dome. So you're right. A team can go on a run like that. It's just you want to make sure that whatever mistakes you make, you can mitigate and minimize by that time because, but now the weight is going to start to be, can we go undefeated? Can we do this? Can we beat the Cowboys on Sunday night, and all of that sort of thing. So you got to measure yourself. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't, if Nick Sirianni, yes, he's a good coach, but to be a great coach, you've got to measure yourself and you've got to know when to take the risks and when to just not. And so he's still figuring that out yet. That's my biggest thing.
That's fair. I mean, I think he's just a second-year coach as well.
He's a young guy, second-year coach. He'll figure things out. The way they're doing, they're mitigating those mistakes. They weren't perfect, but they came back. And how often do you see a run-first team like that come from behind?
Yeah,
teams with good defenses and great run games are not built to come back from 2-score deficits. They did it, and they won by a full touchdown.
Yeah. It is worth noting because then you have another team in the opposite conference, like the Tennessee Titans. They were a run and defense team during their little 2-year window they had. It ended up costing them in the Kansas City Chiefs AFC Championship game they had. And then, of course, Joey B and the Cincinnati Bengals, cut their hearts out. So I just have to mention that because, once again, I don't like Tennessee. Last 2 games, I think, of the 1 o'clock hour here before we get to those 4 o'clock hour games, both featuring double-digit comebacks, both AFC East teams, both coming back against AFC North teams. Would you look at that? The New York Jets coming back down 20-10 in the fourth quarter off of the back of 2 very good drives that Zach Wilson did. He was really good in that fourth quarter, to say the very least, boys. And the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens, this kind of echoes the point that Rick just said, and I'll let him expand upon it a little bit more here in a minute. Take the points. Take the points, John Harbaugh. Take the points. So
the Bills would have scored a touchdown. Did you see
probably
right down the field. They were taking knees so that they could just set up that field goal. They didn't have to worry about it.
But remember, Justin, I think each of the last couple of seasons now, there's been a game with the Ravens that featured them making a 4th and goal call. Was it the Steelers game last season, or was that 2 seasons ago where they had
it was both Steeler games last season. Now,
so,
look,
like,
I'm not. This is what prompted that question, though. Is Harbaugh to blame, or is it the defense? There's issues with both. At what point does John Harbaugh have to turn around and say, "I'm the head coach. I understand Lamar wants to go for it. I trust my players. We're going to take the points." He goes for it on 4th down too much, and it's gotten to the point now where if he does turn around and say that, all of a sudden the players can turn around and be like, "You're going to listen to the media now instead of us." All of a sudden, you don't trust us anymore. What's going on? There's an issue in that Baltimore locker room that's brewing that hasn't reared its ugly head yet. It started with Marcus Peters last week, and I'm not necessarily saying Marcus Peters was right for whatever his reaction was, but there's going to be an issue coming down the line. We might see John Harbaugh on the hot seat soon.
Let me say this. My bad, Rick, real quick. Winning can delay the inevitable of a locker room meltdown.
Yeah.
Winning can do that. We're seeing that. We see it in other sports. what we think are good situations will melt down when the winning is no longer there. And could that be the case for Baltimore this season? That being said, Rick, go.
Look at Aaron Boone with the Yankees in the month of August. They were not winning anything. They were already calling for his head. To your point, though, this is exactly my fear with Mike McDonald with the Ravens on the defense. Because, yeah, 4th and goal, they didn't go for it. You at least want to stop the Bills' offense from marching down the field and kicking a field goal. They had a 12-play drive to end the game. Take the points, Baltimore. Absolutely. 23-20. You kick it out of the end zone, 75 yards. You still have time. Buffalo, that last drive, they ran off 4 minutes off the clock, 12 plays, 77 yards. Where is the defense? I get it, they're hurt. Where is the defense?
And the last 2 plays, they took knees.
Right.
They took a knee on the 5-yard line twice so that they could set up a field goal because they didn't have any timeouts. They drove down the field with ease. They didn't need the touchdown. They have a good kicker in Tyler Bass. There was no resistance.
And they also got help because on that last drive, Brandon Stevens took a unconscionable roughing the passer penalty. Like, where's your discipline? Where's the defense? Where is it? Was Wink Martindale really that good? Apparently, because the Giants are world beaters right now. But where is your defense? Why what if you want to be a good team, you win these games against the team in Buffalo who, I'll say it, they're 3-1, but they're not an impressive 3-1. Yeah, sure, they beat the Rams and they beat the Titans, but the Dolphins game they botched, and then this game could have gone either way. It's you were impressive 2-0, but now 2 games later, it's like,
let's talk about pumping the brakes. Buffalo is plus 56. They're a top 5 scoring offense and a top 5 defense in points allowed. They are a nasty team. They've only played good teams this year for the most part, except for the Titans. They are a very good football team. They had a chance to win that Miami game. They should have won that Miami game. I'll give you that. But let's not sit here
let's pump the brakes on you pumping the brakes for a second. Didn't you say last year that Buffalo should have been a better team and should have won more games than they actually won?
They had a much easier schedule. They've won the games that they were supposed to win. They lost to a Miami team that is very good. They still could have pulled out in the last 30 seconds of the game, and if it wasn't for
the clock ran out on them in that Dolphins game.
Come on, man.
No idea what he just did. I will say this, and like this goes into the
Ken Dorsey.
This goes into the coaching versus defense thing. After Baltimore took a 20-3 lead, what their offense did after that, a punt on their drive after the field goal that put them up 20-3, end of the first half, not counting that obviously. Punt to begin the second half, punt after the Bills made a field goal, interception thrown after the Bills made it 20-20. The Ravens defense stops Buffalo after the interception, the first one. They force them to punt. And then the Ravens 14-play, 93-yard drive kills 9.5 minutes to end it on a interception on a 4th and goal call. Like, that's why to me, like, maybe that's why I was kind of having issues with the would you rather, because I put the Dolphins game on the defense. I'm putting the Buffalo game on John Harbaugh. Your defense only let up 20, besides the ending field goal, your defense only let up 20 points at that point. And the offense stopped doing them every single favor in the second half. Like, I know there are portions where it's like, can the defense get you a stop? They got you the stop after the interception you threw. Finish the game. Finish with a touchdown, or at least get the field goal to force the Bills' play calling would have been different there. Like, come on now. Come on. Like that's why to me that with that game specifically, I have to put this game on John Harbaugh. And that's why you mentioned it, Justin. I think you have a point. Like, there's something brewing there, and is it going to explode?
Hurting my preseason MVP?
And this is why I said Baltimore wasn't going to make the playoffs this year. Just saying.
Well,
I had a feeling that something was going to happen, and look what's happening.
My qualifier was if the defense could stay healthy, which they clearly have not already. They've already lost 2 players in the secondary. They've lost the starting linebacker. They're having a rough season on defense.
They should put the skeletons that you find in medical offices out on defense instead, because they'll at least be healthier than the current human beings they have on defense.
Less chance of a torn ACL for sure.
because you have
really
no ligaments. Very true.
really quick, the other AFC East team that pulled off a comeback victory here, they were down 20-10. Kenny Pickett came into the game, but the New York Jets showed up on both offense and defense, mind you. They picked off Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky combined, 4 times?
Yep.
It was very good. Zach Wilson, he started out pretty good. He had the receiving touchdown. He gritted and all that stuff. Had a rough middle of the game. Played a lot better in the fourth quarter. Made the kinds of throws that we were talking about in the preseason about the Jets, boys. Because if you're new to the show, ladies and gentlemen, these two are Jets fans. Me and Sandoval are the neutral observers here. That's why we are the two consuls of the podcast. But Rick, that was a big time performance by Zach Wilson in terms of making the kinds of throws you want him to make. Any comments about the Jets' victory over the Steelers? I mean, it must feel good to be 2-2, boys.
You know what I heard, which I thought was an interesting take, was that with Zach Wilson out there, the Jets' offense looked a little more balanced and a little more open spread. And I didn't really think about that much until I looked at the stats. And you're absolutely right. You know, when Joe Flacco was out there, he was finding Garrett Wilson maybe 7 or 8 times in a game. He only caught 2 passes. Corey Davis had the most receptions for 5, but that's because Zach Wilson spread the ball around to like 8 or 9 different guys that were there, you know. So the offense looked a little more spread, a little more balanced. But yeah, you're right. This defense took advantage of a guy in Kenny Pickett coming in on the hype train in Pittsburgh and just absolutely exploited him in the passing game. Like the rushing game, sure, he got 2 running touchdowns, but they were like, you know, teardrops. But listen, yeah, it feels good to be 2-2. It's a big surprise in some ways, but it's a good surprise. Look, they were 1-2 under Joe Flacco, so he can just go the hell out of here. This is Zach Wilson's team now, and yeah, listen, we'll see how they do this week. You know, again, a Miami defense that has some holes, has some good players, but has some holes, and an offense that, while good, we'll see how Teddy Bridgewater is. So.
You also went 2-2 against the AFC North here, and
yeah,
those are, for all our criticisms about the Steelers and the Browns, those are still 2 pretty talented defenses that you played against and played well against as well. So it's got to give you a little bit of confidence here, you know, whether it be in this game or maybe some of the games you have throughout the season. Like Justin, this was an important win. Like, albeit even if the Jets don't make the playoffs, which not a lot of people are still expecting of them, this was an important win for them just to see some progression. Especially Zach Wilson's first game back from injury.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's the first time the Jets have been 500 in October in a very long time. So I'm very excited. I'm very happy. Zach Wilson did look good on those last 2 drives, but I still don't know what Zach Wilson is. That game didn't answer any questions. I know it's his first game in a long time. I don't really think he looked all that great most of the game. Again, fourth quarter, he came in and you know, credit. I heard Steve Young on the Michael K show the other day. You can't teach that fourth quarter. You can teach him the quarters 1 through 3. And maybe that's true, but I mean, that game shouldn't have been so close. They were up 10-0 and they squandered like 4 or 5 drives in a row. That should not have been that close a game. He was throwing things into double coverage, into triple coverage. His plays didn't look, the play calling didn't look great. His decision-making didn't look fantastic. He's got the skills. And I do love the fact that he's got more receiving touchdowns in his career than Kenny Golladay does in his New York career. I get that. That's fantastic. But that game did not answer any questions for me. It gave me the exact same questions that I've had his entire career and I've had for the past 7, 8 entirety of my Jets career. Is this the guy that's going to be a good quarterback in New York? And I couldn't answer that from this game. I hate to be pessimistic, and just as a Jets fan, to me, they have a legitimate shot to have a winning record for the first time since week 1, 2018. This screams Jet loss to me. This screams disappointing. No starting. They're missing Tua. They got Teddy Bridgewater, the backup in. Tyreek Hill is hampered. They're coming to New York. Like, it screams terrible loss. And I can't help but feel we're going to have the same questions we had after week 1 next week if the Jets lose to Miami.
Listen, Justin, I'll just put it like this. If y'all let me pick the Miami Jets game because I in my personal I have Miami winning, y'all want me to pick that one because I went 0-4 last week? We'll give the Jets some more love. How about that? We'll see how that works.
Maybe the key to this podcast is the right people picking, because I picked the Jets to win last week. I'm just saying, Justin. I'm just saying. So
Yeah.
who knows? Who knows? All right, let's go over to the 4 o'clock games. Some will get more time than others here really quick. Packers 27-24 victory over the New England Patriots. Brian Hoyer being taken out of the game, and the legend himself, Bailey Zappi, coming into that game. And look, the stats may not have really shown much because he only passed for 99 yards, but his presence, they played better with him there. In all seriousness, it was a closer than expected game. Bill Belichick, these are the kinds of games that in the past he would have won, but the quarterback ain't there to win these kinds of games anymore. Let's just say that much. But ended up needing a field goal by Mason Crosby, and a pretty good game from some of the Packers skill position players too. Alan Lazard, 116 yards. They really missed him in that week 1 game against Minnesota. And Aaron Jones, 110 yards on the ground as well. Clearly, it took a lot more than most would have expected by the Green Bay Packers in order to win this game, but they got the game and got the victory nonetheless. I don't really have too much to say about this game. This kind of just feels like one of those games we can kind of pass on. Like, Bailey Zappi's here. I guess that's the biggest news for us because Rick. But yep. I don't have anything to say about this game other than that.
Well, there's one thing I'll say. The Patriots missed Jonnu Smith big time in this game. Mm-hmm. I mean, they did not have any real options. I mean, when Nelson Aguilar has the most catches for your offense, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, the Packers, they needed this. They got the win. It was fortunate for them. You're right. Lazard was great. Aaron Jones was good. But this is a game that, and now we'll see how the Patriots do this week. I don't know if we know who the quarterback's going to be officially. So it's not Brian Hoyer.
Mac Jones is doubtful. Hoyer to the IR. They did sign a quarterback, but it looks like Bailey Zappi will be getting his first start at home against Detroit.
Look at that. Ooh. Look at that. Big opportunity. Big opportunity.
All right.
Revenge game for Matt Patricia?
Possible. Very possible. Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Speaking of, games that were intriguing, to say the least, with how they played out, the Cardinals-Panthers, that just wasn't a pretty game to watch. 26-16. The Panthers' defense was...
Broncos.
I mean, that's not a high bar. But it was a 26-16 game that the Cardinals won. Panthers were up 10-3 after the first half, but eventually the Cardinals would come back. They would score 23 points in a row to end the game off. Baker Mayfield, 22 of 36, 197 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Christian McCaffrey, 81 receiving yards, only 27 rushing yards on 8 carries. It's not good right now. I have... to me, there's always at some point a tipping point of how much can Matt Rule's contract protect him, because it would be an albatross to try to pay out unless there's an agreed to set amount for the buyout. I think we're getting closer to that. I think Dave Tepper is getting very close to that. Justin,
you have left.
He signed 7 years, and this is year 3.
7-year contract?
Yeah, I think it was 7. It was like 7 years, $42 million.
Wild.
Right.
So I mean, Justin was on the fire Matt Rule train before the season. So how close are we to Matt Rule being fired here, Justin? He
signed a 7-year, $62 million contract in 2019.
Oh my God, $62 million?
Yeah, that's a bad contract.
That was the old ownership, though, right? That wasn't the new ownership.
That had to have been Tepper.
I don't know.
Yep, Dave Tepper.
Boy, you know what? I'll be honest with you, because it's Dave Tepper. Rule might write out all 7 years at this point. It's same ownership. Like it might be him for 7 years. Like I don't know. I'm aboard the train with Justin at this point. Matt Rule's got to go.
Like I said, it's not even that I wasn't like I was a Matt Rule guy. I was actually hoping that the Jets were going to sign him instead of Adam Gase. It's been rough for him not having a quarterback. Baker's got one of the lowest QBRs in NFL history at the moment. Sam Darnold isn't healthy. It's not like they had anything behind him. They still have a really strong defense, and they have weapons around there. I think the goal is going to be to draft a quarterback next year.
Has to be.
Does that mean they're tanking? I don't know. I
don't think they need to. There's so many quarterbacks that we've talked about in the 2023 class that they could pick one of like 10 and be fine.
You want your choice.
Yeah.
There's going to be
At the
more
end of
than
the day,
5 teams next year looking for quarterbacks.
you want the highest possible pick to pick the quarterback that you definitively want as well. And even like there's still going to be fluctuation throughout the rankings over the next couple of weeks in terms of how the quarterbacks perform. Like I don't think the quarterback 2023 class right now. I don't think a lot of people would be ranking it the same what they would have before the college football season started, to say the very least. Some guys have still performed, but some guys have taken dips, valleys and what's the word? Valleys
Peaks,
and
peaks and valleys.
Peaks and valleys, yes. So it's just not looking good for Carolina right now. I'm still gonna be on the train that rules. I think he's at least getting next season. I think you can somehow convince Dave Tepper to wait one more year. You want to at least get through 4 years of the deal before you even consider a buyout at that point. Just because, like Dave Tepper, like yes, he's spending money, but I think he cares about his money a little bit. I think he's probably going to give us one more year. I will say this: I am thoroughly impressed by the fact that under one head coach, 2 former top 5 overall picks are going to get ruined under one head coach for their NFL careers. Because they, like Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, this was last chance saloon. They got bottles broken over their heads, to say the least. This has not been good for them in any which way. You still should have been XFL MVP PJ Walker there. I'm just saying. So, last resort there. There's your card. Or bring back Cam Newton for another round. Who the hell knows? We're going to talk about this team once more in a little bit, but the Las Vegas Raiders defeated the Denver Broncos 32-23. Josh McDaniels' best game yet coaching for the Vegas Raiders. Josh Jacobs had an amazing game for them. This is one of the defining games of his career so far. 28 carries, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was outstanding. Devontae Adams got over 100 yards for the first time since week 1, so he outdueled Cole Kmet this week, Rick. Much to our chagrin. But, Vegas, they did their job. They had the lead, and they held on to it on a very consistent basis. It was 16-16, Daniel Carlson field goal. Russell Wilson scored a touchdown, but Vegas, they scored, and the defense held on in moments. That defense made some stops. So any comments about this? At least for the Raiders' perspective. We could save the Broncos for later, boys. But anything about the Raiders before we move on?
They needed it. They needed a big win. They finally got it.
Damn time.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. Much needed. And who knows? Maybe that's the momentum that this team needs. Sometimes all it does take is one win. And considering the scape of the AFC, I'm not necessarily going to count Vegas out for now. I think they still have a chance.
I agree, except who are they playing this week? The team we're going to talk about next.
Well, yeah. That makes you reconsider. The 2 primetime games of last week to end it off here: Chiefs Buccaneers and the Eye of the Storm. Was it really the Eye of the Storm? Who knows? But in all seriousness, hopefully people are starting to recover from Hurricane Ian, of course. But that wasn't going to stop the NFL. Natural disasters don't stop this league. 41-31 game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. To say the very least, like I know the game ended up being close, but at one point the Chiefs were up 38-17. I think we knew from that point on the Chiefs were going to win that game. We'll comment on that game as well as this one in tandem. 24-9 between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams on Monday Night Football. The lone highlight of that game for the Los Angeles Rams was Bobby Wagner taking down a fan. That was really about it for the Los Angeles Rams. For the San Francisco 49ers, big win to get them at 2-2 and just continuing their regular season dominance over the LA Rams. I think that's 6 or 7 wins against LA in a row now in the regular season. Big time right there. Comments about those games, boys? Justin, I'll throw it to you first on the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chiefs-Bucks game, and then the 49ers-Rams game.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's Patrick Mahomes handing me that receipt for what I said in the beginning of the season. The Chiefs look nasty. They do. They have a really strong defense. They have a really, really balanced offense. I did say I do expect that Kansas City offense to be good. Just wasn't expecting it this early, man. And it's hard to say that they're not one of the teams to beat in the AFC at this point. I mean, they're still right up there with the Bills. They're still right up there with any team that could put up points. The only difference is their defense is actually playing really well to start the season. So
2 games over 40 so far for the Chiefs in this young season. Any comments about that Niners-Rams game, Justin, or are you the same as me, where Bobby Wagner was the highlight of the game as a whole?
Oh, that was during a game? I just assumed. So I didn't really seem like much was going on there, especially for the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. That's pretty fair analysis right there. Rick, comments on those 2 games?
I wanted to personally invite Matt Stafford to my backyard bocce courts, and that's the only sport you can probably win at this point because you look awful. You can't throw a football, so how about a bocce ball? That might help you out even better. But yeah, this Kansas City Tampa game, it was only close at the end when you look at the score line. And Tom Brady threw 385 yards, which is a signature Tom Brady performance. It's just a surprise now that, like, 20 years ago, that would have been in like a 42-13 win for the Patriots. Now it's on the losing end against a good Kansas City offense. And yeah, I mean, the Chiefs are legit. The Bucks are old. The Rams are a major disappointment, and good on you, San Francisco. Maybe they knew something we didn't about keeping Garoppolo all this time, because he's at the very least looked manageable to win games. So good on you.
He has a winning record when he's the 49ers starting quarterback. If there's one thing you can't deny, it's that they are an above 500 team when Jimmy G is under center. Like that.
Better than Geno Smith.
Defense in the league.
Oh no, that's fair. Look, I'm not keeping up for Jimmy G. I'm just saying, like, ever since he got there, like, remember the Pats traded him there. He goes like 5-0 to end the season, and that's when they gave him that like big contract extension. And then it's just been off of that from there. So
he made
like,
a Super Bowl.
Yeah, look, as weird as it is, some things at the end of the day just make sense in certain situations that to us it just shouldn't make sense. And Jimmy G being the answer in San Fran has just been that for a while now. So I mean,
yeah. and like us being a football podcast and not talking about Thursday night's game.
Yeah, just real quick, a game happened on Thursday Night Football. 12-9, Colts beat the Broncos. That's really all I have to say about that game. It wasn't good. Like
I'll say this. Good for the Denver fans at the end of regulation, leaving the stadium. You didn't have to watch your anemic offense blow it again. And this is where I'm going to echo Richard Sherman. Run the dang ball, Denver. Run the dang ball. Or take the points. Yeah, it'll be a tie, but you know what? Better than a loss. A tie is better than a loss. Awful.
Can I just ask? I'd like to put out a plea to the NFL. I'm a Jets fan, and I've been a Jets fan for 15, 20 years now. I've had to watch enough bad football at 1 o'clock that I don't need to watch another Bronco. Like, why are they putting 4 Broncos games in the first 6 weeks in primetime slots? Why?
I think they assumed that they would be better than they currently are.
What have I done to deserve
to quote the late?
I'm not going to miss the game. Yeah. You're going to force me to watch this offense 6 weeks in a row as if I didn't just watch the Jets play the Steelers?
Justin, this is why I don't watch Thursday Night Football.
It's football. I want to watch football. Give me football. I'll watch football every night of the week. I'm going to go watch college football.
To quote the late, great Dennis Green, the Broncos are who we thought they were.
They're even worse.
They're not.
They're even worse.
They're not who I thought they were going to be. They're not who I thought they were going to be.
How is that possible?
Oh,
we had low expectations for this team coming into the season. We thought they were going to be 4th in the division anyways. They're worse, and they're not even technically
4th in the division. Like 8 and 9 or 9 and 8.
Yeah,
but,
like,
but here's the thing.
I said they could have a division where all 4 teams had a winning record.
Yeah,
which is absurd.
I said they don't make the playoffs, so that's on me.
No, I don't think.
I had them missing the playoffs too.
Yeah, so did I. Like none of us had them making the playoffs. I mean, again, we had them 4th in the division.
I did.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. Oh no, Rick. I hope you're getting fitted for your Colts jersey right now because it's not looking good.
My shoulders are broad enough for that. Yep. Okay. There we go.
Oh God, it's looking bad for you,
It's
brother.
happening. It's happening.
God. Oh Lord. Who'd you have winning that division again? Oh yes, of course. Nearly undefeated team.
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, it's not looking good. The AFC West as a whole is kind of under.
That the quickest prediction we had to go down the tubes?
Oh yeah,
it has to be.
Yeah,
it has to be.
Absolutely.
Holy hell!
I mean, by week 3 it was done.
Well, I mean, I think we can call it now in the Lions and the Commanders winning their division. So.
Hey,
no, too early for that. Commanders, really? I'll give you. I don't think you can call the Lions yet. It's a close-knit division.
Look, I mean, I'm saying this. I think the best prediction I've made so far is that Geno Smith is going to be in the Ring of Honor one day, and I'll take that.
Terrible pick. Terrible take by you.
You sure about that? Because Geno Smith is
positive.
Balling right now. Russell Wilson. Oh my God! It is the greatest thing in the world. Hold up. So
does this make Pete Carroll a Hall of Fame coach?
You know what? It might be this. First 4 games. I'm not counting that. This was before the atrocity of Thursday Night Football. First 4 games of Russell Wilson this season: 61.1% completion percentage, 980 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Geno Smith through the first 4 games: 77.3% completion percentage, 1,037 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Listen, wasn't Drew Lock a better quarterback last year through the first 4 games as well for Denver?
Oh yeah, not only that, Teddy Bridgewater had a better record and I think a better maybe completion percentage or touchdown than Russell Wilson. Like, if you were going to pay $230 million to a quarterback between Russell Wilson, Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, and Geno Smith, who would have thought Russell Wilson would be last on that list if you're the Denver Broncos, eh?
Oh my God!
Holy
Who would you rather have coach your team, Nathaniel Hackett or Urban Meyer?
I'd revive the ghost of Abraham Lincoln over those two instead.
Look, Urban Meyer is a scumbag of a human being as a whole. Nathaniel
Yes.
Hackett is just stupid with football.
All right. Well, this is more than I wanted to talk about the Broncos this week.
Yes. So
Yeah,
we are going to move. We're obviously going to move on to that, ladies and gentlemen. But we need a little bit of a palate cleanser because God, that was about as bad of a taste as the pumpkin whatever thing that Rick has been having throughout this entire show, which I haven't seen a sip of in a while here. So get to sipping, Rick. But as you do so, we need a palate cleanser before we get to the picks. So why not bring on another episode of First Expressions?
Good evening. This is First Subspressions, taking place at the Beresford Arms Hotel and Suites in San Francisco, California. Why I'm wearing a Charleston shirt, it's a 3/4 sleeve, whatever. It's currently about 10:30 at night here, about 1 a.m. your time. I'm struggling a bit. I gotta get this paper done that I'm trying to do, but I need a little bit of energy pickup. And I'm ashamed to say that we're going to some grapefruit flavored soda called Squirt. Now, Dude Perfect had this as their top 10, their number 1 soda in their top 10 on one of their overtime shows. I'm not usually a grapefruit fan, so I really don't know how this is going to be. It could be terrible. It could be really good, but that's why we're here. Cheers to you. This is, again, Squirt Grapefruit Soda. Wow. So it's kind of a little bit like a Sprite or a Mountain Dew. Less carbonation. And the taste of the grapefruit isn't as strong as I expected it to be. But I gotta be honest with you, it's actually not that bad. I'm thoroughly impressed by this. This is a good start. So, yeah. Terrible name, though. I mean, Squirt, think of something a little different. I mean, I get it, grapefruit, but think of a different name. However, good soda. Good expression. Back to your regular scheduled programming.
The things I do for you people on this podcast. Grapefruit and then pumpkin the next day or the day after that. Like,
There's a pumpkin soda?
There probably is somewhere.
I think we need Rick to have the pumpkin soda. Okay, but if by chance you are listening to this in a different state, which we know for sure, at least a other state is listening to us from here, or if you're listening to us in a different country, if you have a pumpkin tasted soda, please tell us where we can order that from. We will order that for Rick.
Yeah, you will, because you like keeping my, me and tortured whatnot. This pumpkin coffee is terrible, by the way. Like, I can't imagine how pumpkin soda is going to be.
You can stop drinking it, by the way. You're a good dude.
No, I have to continue. I have to finish it because that's the nature of the show. So,
to be fair, well, speaking of the nature of the show and speaking of Rick suffering, the first overall pick in this week's Sports Agents of Chaos Pick Challenge belongs to Rick. He had the winless week. Jesus Christ, Dragon. It just didn't go well for him. Rick gets first pick this week. Justin gets second. I'm going last, per usual. The way that the game has gone, if you are new to this and if you want to continue to watch the show, here's the quick breakdown of the rules. We all pick 4 games on the week from a 4-point scale of 4 point being our favorite, most confident game to the 1 point being our least confident. At least one of your picks needs to be an upset pick per the current favorite line on ESPN right now, because it's the easiest app for us to access for that. And because 2 out of 3 of us are not really that big of sports gamblers. You go 1 through 4. This is a snake format, so Rick goes, Justin, me. I get back-to-back picks, then Rick will get back. You guys will figure that part out. And at the end of it, we Sandoval gets the remaining games, and he gets a point multiplier if once with the bye week start hitting. I think that's just about it for it. And if you want to go for a tie, has to be your 4-point pick. So, and because if you're brave enough to go for a tie, it becomes 5 points. So there's some incentive there, but you got to be really lucky on that end, to say the very least. So Rick, you have the first pick. Rick has also been the amazing bookkeeper here, so you're going to get an updated rank standings here in a moment. So Rick, take the show. You got the first pick, and update the people on the challenges this week.
What points are we at also?
The current standings for the points are Jurg, after his 10-point plus bonus week last week, is at 28. Justin, after your solid week last week, you are now at 19 points. So you're behind Jurg by a bit, but we've spread things out. It was very close to the first 3 weeks, and then last week happened. I am stuck at 11, which I was at when we had the show last week. And Sandoval, it's won 2 games last week, so he's now at 8. So the deer is nipping at my heels. I'm not thrilled about this. So Jurg, obviously, you won all games, so you're 4-0 in your 4-point selections. The both of you won 3 games for the first time in podcast history, and Jurg also won 4 games for the first time in podcast history. I had the second winless week because Sandoval was 0-3, but because he's a deer, he doesn't have to drink pumpkin like I do. So I will go first because that is my right and my privilege, and I am looking at the line for a game that is -14. And I am going to take the Buffalo Bills for my 4-point pick over Pittsburgh. I wanted to take Green Bay, but something tells me that the Giants are going to play that a lot closer than I think they're going to. So I'm going to sit with Buffalo. I'm going to take what's hopefully an easy 4 points, but anything can happen in this league, and Mike Tomlin can cook up a good defense, and Josh Allen can be hurt. So who the hell even knows anymore? So I'm going to go with that, and I hope that's a good kickstart to my 10-point week that I'm hoping for.
All right, let's see. Justin, goes to you. Second pick for the first time, man. How are you feeling?
Feeling like I wanted to pick the Bills.
See, here's the thing. On the plus side,
You're welcome.
Even you get to pick first. Obviously, that means you're last in the current overall standings, which is how we do it, by the way, guys. The current standings give us the pick order. It gives you first dibs on the 4-point picks, which is a very valuable thing. So at least Rick got that. Justin, your 4-point pick.
I think there's a lot fewer games that I am comfortable with. There's a couple of big name teams that should win, but are they top guys for me? I guess I'm going to have to go with my man Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs at home against the Raiders. The Raiders look good. I do think that the Raiders can win this game. Believe it or not, they should have a good time. It should be a high-scoring game, but I gotta go with the Chiefs, I guess.
Okay. Stole it from me. Thank you. Makes sense. It's those are the two
Seriously?
teams. Aw, adorable.
Thank you.
So Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are off the board. So for me, 4-point pick. Boys might be a little bit apprehensive about this, and maybe this will end up being a closer game, but it doesn't matter about the point margin. All that matters is you get the win. I'm going to go with a man who I've, picked for important games plenty of times in the past. He's failed me before.
Ryan Tannehill?
Funny. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers for my 4-point pick. Look, I know there's the thing with them getting Landon Collins back, and their defense is playing better. Shout out to Wink Martindale, but Packers, even if they don't win this game by the full 8 points that they're projected to win by, which they may not, I'm going to go with the Packers here. I don't see that team. I don't see the Giants being Aaron Rodgers. To just keep it simple at the end of the day. And the Packers, you have to give them credit. They are starting to play better than what we saw in Week 1. They're starting to play better. And Romeo Doubs was this close to having a massive week against the Patriots. It once again brought up the conversation of what the hell is a catch in the NFL, which has been a conversation for quite a while now. Des Bryant and Cowboys fans, they sympathize. So that's my 4-point pick. My 3-point pick, going to be my upset pick. Look, I'm pushing my chips to the middle of the table. I don't know why the Saints are a 5-point favorite right now. I'm not buying it. Give me the Seattle Seahawks over the Saints for my 3-point pick. Geno Smith, Seahawks Ring of Honor. Let's continue to build the case here.
Wow. That was going to be one of my upset picks. There's a couple that I like this week, but I mean, if you're going to leave it there, I guess I'm going to take it, man. I'm going to have to pick the Bucks over the Falcons.
Okay.
That's another one where I almost picked them over the Chiefs as my 4-point game. The Falcons have looked good, but you got to think the Bucks have this game.
Probably. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I went through this thing and my phone has been lagging so much. I honestly didn't even notice the Buccaneers game, but I don't have regrets on my picks for myself personally. So there's that. But I mean, Buccaneers Falcons, it will be interesting. Like you said yourself, it's just how much are the Buccaneers going to win by? How impressive should they look in this game? I think that's going to be the biggest thing. But it should be a victory at the end of the day. Rick, you have back-to-back picks now. You have your 3-point pick and your 2-point pick. So let's keep it going.
All right. I'm going to go divisional, 3 points. Minnesota over Chicago for me. Listen, I like the Vikings in this one. I think the Bears' offense is lackluster at best.
Well,
so
as we said earlier,
we all do. Which, when Justin picked the Chiefs over the Raiders, that took out one of my 2 upsets that I had picked for the week because I had Vegas in my pre-picks because, again, I had them being better than they currently are. So that leaves my 2-point pick as my upset pick. And you know what? It went so well for me in week 1 when I picked this team, so I've got to go with them again. And I think, Jurg, you'll be incredibly happy about this. Give me the Commanders over the Titans for my 2-point pick. Again, no Treylon Burks. Tennessee doesn't have a lot of offense options. They've got to right the ship somehow. Give me those 2 points. It's a risk, but I'll take it.
If the Titans somehow win that game, Derrick Henry's MVP case starts to begin because there's no reason that a Ryan Tannehill team in this state should win. But Derrick Henry has been that team's engine for the last couple of years now, so it wouldn't necessarily be a shock whatsoever. So yeah, but
So
hey,
the Commanders and who else?
the
Vikings.
Vikings,
Right. All right, I guess I got to get my upset pick in now while it's still available. Rick, who did you pick to win the NFC North again? The top scoring offense? The Detroit Lions?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, they're currently underdogs going into New England. I'm going to pick them up this week.
Okay.
I think that they're going to beat New England.
Will be interesting to see that the 2 teams that scored 40 plus last week. Well, 2 of the teams that scored 40 plus last week, the Seahawks and Lions, being underdogs. Like it really goes to show, I guess, what preseason predictions mean for people, because you cannot convince me after the Patriots and Saints games last week that they should have been the favorites over the Seahawks and the Lions. So that's just me, but hey, to each his own. I'm going to be quick on this one. My 2-point pick is going to be the San Francisco 49ers over the Carolina Panthers. The 49ers, again, it's really weird. They just find a way to win games with Jimmy G. And this is going to be a way, especially because the Rams have the potential to bounce back here. The Seahawks have a easier game than expected coming into this one against the Saints. And the Cardinals and Eagles is kind of this could be this is a really important game here for the 49ers to take advantage of. You've got to get a win early in the season. Let's go 49ers over Panthers in my 2-point pick. And then my 1-point pick, a little bit difficult because there are a good amount of games that I could see going either way for a good chunk here. I put faith in this team last week for one of my lower point games. They were my 2-point game last week. I'll make them my 1-point game this week. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think this is a big game for the Chargers to really keep themselves above 500 and well in the AFC wildcard hunt right now with so many teams in that middle portion. Give me the Chargers for my 1-point pick.
Okay. It's fair.
Okay. Now, there's a few games left that I actually have a lot of interest in.
Yeah.
And I can say them because it doesn't matter. This is my last pick. So
Right.
I do have teams that I definitely think are going to win. I do like the Cowboys at the Rams, actually. It's funny, in my office league, I actually picked the Rams to win this week. But the more I think about it, the more I really like that Cowboys defense to get after Matthew Stafford. And I want to pick the Eagles to go 5-0. I really think they will. But I'm gonna throw my weight behind the AFC South for once And I'm going to say the one true for real team in this division is going to win the game they're supposed to win. They are going to be for real this year, and they have a bright future coming up. And I'm going to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars to beat the Houston Texans in Jacksonville.
That was my 1 point pick, so screw you on that end. That's,
Oh, you were going to pick Jets Dolphins, bro.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, I might have to now. I mean,
you can leave it to the deer.
See, but here's the thing. So I'm looking at my 4 remaining picks of who I have, and I'm not confident in any one of them.
That's why it's the 1 point.
except for biting the bullet, swallowing my pride, and picking Philadelphia over Arizona, which I guess is what I'm going to do, because I'm not confident in any of the other ones that are out there. For at least for the ones that I had picked. Because I'll tell you what I had Miami over the Jets, and I'm not wholly confident in that because of Teddy Bridgewater. Baltimore over Cincinnati, not wholly confident in that because of an AFC North matchup. And then I had the Rams going over Dallas, not confident in that either. So I guess by definition, I'll go Philadelphia over Arizona then, I guess. I mean, I don't know, whatever. I'll roll with that.
Yeah, probably the closest. For myself personally, I would have also inched toward maybe Bengals over Ravens. That was definitely in play for me for my 2 and 1 pointers, in part because I've been on the Bengals hype train this season, so I will continue to do so. But also going back to last season when the Ravens were still pretty healthy, the Bengals beat them both times. I think one of those games the Bengals absolutely shellacked them as well. So Bengals, the Bengals, like the last couple of years, have been doing pretty good against their division. So we'll see. But hey, that means 3 games left. So Rick, you'll give us the recap in a moment. But first, we need to figure out the 3 games for the deer himself. So what are his picks in his remaining games?
He's going Dallas over the Rams at 3 points for an upset. He's going to take Miami over the Jets at 2 points. And then his 1 point is another upset, even though it doesn't really matter. Cincinnati, he's taking over Baltimore. So to recap, Mr. Perfect over there, Jurg, Green Bay at 4 points, Seattle at 3, San Fran at 2, and the Chargers at 1. For Justin, Kansas City at 4, Tampa at 3. Ironic that they played last week. Detroit at 2, and Jacksonville at 1. For me, hope to God that this all works out. Buffalo at 4, Minnesota at 3, Washington pulling the upset at 2, and Philadelphia at 1. And the damn deer, Dallas at 3, Miami at 2, and Cincinnati at 1.
Rick, let me just let you know. Buffalo had a very disappointing loss last year to open the season against the Steelers. I know you said that they're supposed to be better than they are this year. So just if you want to be disappointed. And the Eagles, if they were playing that game at home, I would have taken them. But Cardinals going across the country.
You want me to be behind the deer in points, don't you?
No, I don't want the deer to eat. I want the deer to be so far behind he stops picking.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I know. So far.
Yeah.
Look. Despite what Justin wants, Sandoval's going to be on the show for a long time to come.
Yeah. Deer.
He hates it.
He does look good in the top hat, though. I will give him that.
Come on,
Where did
Justin.
you
You
get
got to
such a
admit that.
tiny top hat.
Spirit Halloween.
There you go. Okay. I mean, Justin, you got to give him credit. Sandoval looks dang good in that top hat.
Yeah.
Screw that deer.
Well, Justin's going to continue to hate. Speaking of which, it's time, ladies and gentlemen. It's Rant and Rick's Roast from Podium. This is how we end the show every single week. Rick rants. It could be about a myriad of different topics. It could be about sports. It could be about lawmaking. It could be about sodas. It could be about countries. Who knows at this point? Rick, take it away.
I'm actually contemplating right now just ranting about the teams that have wronged me in the past, but this is going to be a different edition, a special edition of sports figures who have let me down or have let their fan bases down. Number 3, I think we've already talked about them enough, but I don't really want to belabor the point. But this is a tie between the 2 bridesmaids up in Denver, Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett. Broncos country, let's ride to 9 points. Yeah, great, good job. You guys are terrible. Russell Wilson made all his money. First of all, Ciara has so much more money than you do anyways from all her royalties from goodies and 1-2-step and all that stuff. Why are you still playing the game? Like, come on. And Nathaniel Hackett is a bigger con artist, I think, right now as a head coach than that guy who tried to buy the Islanders back in the 90s who said he had $90 million but was in debt $90 million, John Spano, or whatever his name was. Like, Con artist, Nathaniel Hackett, you are. Number 2, I'm going to go to a college sport. Jimbo Fisher, the head coach of the Texas A&M football team. You're horrible. You are a bust. You are a terrible coach. And here's the fun part. You talk about Matt Rule's contract. Well, if A&M wants to fire Jimbo Fisher, they got to pay him almost $90 million to buy out his deal. $90 million. I mean, like, come on. SEC football. We got to get things right here. Like, only Nick Saban deserves that amount of money. And even, I don't like him, but he deserves that amount of money because he's a good football coach. But, Jimbo Fisher and Lane Kiffin can, just go off. One for a totally different reason. That's another conversation for another day. And the number one sports figure that has let me down right now in sports, Max Scherzer. What in God's name was that performance last night, Max Scherzer? You have wasted my time with your 2 different eye colors, with your random routines, with just, all these. This is why I said that contract was a big problem. You gave so much money to a guy who, you paid him for 1 postseason start, that one. And what does he do? He gives up all the home runs, 7 runs, gets booed off the mound. The last guy to get booed off the mound in New York was, I think, Rudy Giuliani back in 2001 or something like that. But, I mean, that can't be right, I don't think. I mean, he did very well, I think, with the pitch, or whatever it was. But at the same point in time, like, you're disappointing me, letting me down as a Mets fan, and you're letting down the entire borough of Queens. As I said, take your 2 different colored eyes and go somewhere else, Max Scherzer. Like we do not need you in this New York town, like, just in general. Like, I'm not talking as a Mets fan saying the we part. I'm saying in general, New Yorkers don't need you in this town. Like, go somewhere else. Go back to Washington, get chocolate syrup on your damn jersey, throw a no-hitter that should have been a perfect game. Screw you, Jose Tabata. You leaned into that pitch. We all know you did. And just regardless of all that, I'm almost done with this, and I gotta say, the reason why I didn't take a sip during most of this was because I was trying to, enjoy time where I didn't have to drink any of this. For the record, Duncan still sucks, but if I go 4-0 this week, yeah, I'm going to have another one of these next week, which is going to be ridiculous because I'm going to be on a damn plane to Norfolk on Saturday at some point, so I'm still going to be drinking this stuff. Or maybe I'll go to Norfolk Duncan and get something else. Maybe I'll get their avocado toast, which looks like, freaking grasshopper, remains with spotted red tomatoes on there. Like, I don't even know anymore, guys. I'm all hopped up on coffee at this point. Duncan sucks. Adam Rank, you know where I am. Fight me. And go Wales. I love the Welsh.
Oh, man. I think that was the first ever all-sports rant podium we've had yet.
It was. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Look, I'm not going to keep this any further. We're never going to get any better than that. That's why we end the episode every single time with a rant podium, because it is the perfect end to an episode. And that was the end. There's the coffee, guys. That is the end of this week's episode of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast. Took us a little bit to get into the football, but we got into football, and there was plenty of it to talk about, as you guys saw. What's going to happen? I think we've now entered the territory, boys, where the weekly results are going to start impacting our picks in the pick challenge. I think you see that from this week, us not necessarily buying what the lines say. We don't care who's a big favorite right now. We're going to go with some unconventional upsets. That's the whole point of the show, because here on the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast, we love to have fun, we love to talk football, and we love to cause just a little bit of chaos. Thank you so much for joining us this week. As always, you guys know Saturday is our domain. Join us here on a weekly basis, and we will see you guys next week.